Very good evening. Even in my Vice-Chancellor interviewer, such a difficult question was not asked. If I was asked to speak on mysticism, it would have been easier. If I was asked to speak on anatomy, it would have been even easier. But to combine both of them, my task is uphill. I try to do justice with whatever little knowledge combined with a little experience. Next slide, please. Then we got this term called dharma, Sanatana Dharma, like that. And we see that is the software program on which the entire cosmos runs. Whereas we have another term called religion, which is a set of beliefs and practices. But all religions have an experiential part of the ultimate truth. Like in Hinduism, we have Tantra, in Buddhism, we have Jain, and in Islam, we have Sufism. Other religions also have a component of mysticism. This soul, or the ultimate truth, is a paradox because you can't see it. It is huge. And you can't hear it with our little ears because the sounds are much beyond what our ears can hear. And even if we experience the ultimate, it is very difficult to express because Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to tell the story of a salt doll which went into ocean to fathom its depths. It goes in and loses identity. So those who really experience cannot express the truth. And that is the paradox in this knowing the ultimate and be able to express it. So, but it's not a completely closed case. Mystics had an answer. They have a technology with which we can see the unseen, we hear the unheard, and we sing the unsung. And they experience the ultimate truth with their own methodology and try to express the inexpressible in different forms. Sounds, what we call mantras, and diagrams, what we call yantras, and processes, what we call tantra. Then coming to the part of anatomy in medical colleges, we learn by dissection, and now we have X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, through which we can even know the live anatomy, study the anatomy. Then how do we correlate science versus mysticism? Basically, we said a bit about mysticism, but what is this science? Science is the process of questioning. You believe what you see, you experiment, and then you get some answers, and then only you believe. So it starts with the matter and progresses. But now science has progressed to a level where atoms, subatomic particles, and God particle, and the energy, at that end of the spectrum, from science, it goes on to belief. Whereas in mysticism, we don't have such a hard and facts in hand. We start with a belief and then keep on following a good teacher and experience the truth as we go along the path. And mysticism starts with doubt, and as we go on, it becomes a definite science at the end. Then, what is this mysticism and its tools? Basically, if we see the mind, the conscious mind is about 10%, and the unconscious mind is 90%. Like the Freud's this one illustration, We can see the tip of the iceberg, but there is a lot more underneath. We keep on talking about conflicts. What are these conflicts? The conscious mind experiences certain things, whereas unconscious mind is a storehouse of a lot of our experience in past lives, innumerable past lives. It is all stored in the form of instincts, vasanas, etc., in the subconscious mind. So there is and subconscious mind is a bully. Whenever there is a difference of opinion between conscious mind and subconscious mind, the subconscious mind, which most of the time wins, because it's a bully. So in this mysticism, what we try to do is we try to fathom it. Though the modern psychologists have learnt about part of this unconscious psyche, they don't have a methodology to inquire scientifically about it. But mystics developed tools to explore the unconscious part of the mind in a very scientific manner, and they made it that everyone can experience and verify the truth ourselves. That is where mysticism becomes a science at the end. Then we go to this anatomy as related to mysticism. Yeah. Yeah, use the mic. See, the conscious mind is the one which we experience through the jnanendriyas and what we perceive. The unconscious mind, we can't see it. Only when the unconscious mind, like bubbles, they come and become conscious. With this conscious mind, we experience it. So that is where in meditation, we go in, like we explore. Possibly I can give you a more rational answer. The earliest part of this anatomy in the mysticism comes from Mandukya Upanishad, where we hear about the three shariras, Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana shariras. In English, what they call gross body, the physical body, and what we experience, and our own subtle body, which is our mind, which is our thinking element, the buddhi, then the ahankara, then the smruti. All those parts become the subtle body, and this subtle body, according to Mandukya, is experienced by what it calls as Taijasa. The first gross body is experienced by Vishwa, and the subtle body by Taijasa, and the causal body is the one what we experience in the deep sleep state without dreams, where we don't experience it there and then, but after getting up from the sleep, we feel that we have experienced, we had a good night's sleep. That perception is because of the causal body, and the importance of this causal body is all the all our experiences are there in the seed form, and they form they grow up. When next body is created, it is based on those seeds. Now, how does this knowledge of gross body and the subtle body and causal body useful for mystics? It is useful when you do what is called Omkara Sadhana. Because in Mandukya, they describe a process where you recite Om in the right eye, and then you do some kind of a vichara that you are not a gross body, you are not worried about the problems, pleasures, etc. of the gross body, and then you move to the throat, which is the site of this one. Again, you chant Omkara. You say you are not the Taijasa, you are not the one who is experiencing your dreams, vasanas, etc. And then you move to the heart region and chant Om again, And then you say you are not the prajna, you are not the one who perceives the darkness, you are not the one who is affected by the seeds, vasanas, etc. stored in the prajna. Now then you realize you are above all these, pervading through this, called the Turiya, and then you stay in the Turiya and realize, like what happens in a movie, the screen is there, the morning show, the Vishwa comes, the show is done, then afternoon, the afternoon show, or in the evening, the dream comes, and then the deep sleep comes, and three people come and go. So you develop kind of a detachment from the body and mind and try to be in your own true nature. That's how this anatomy of Sharira Traya helps the mystics to stay in their own nature. And similarly, we have this mystic anatomy of Panchakoshas, wherein in the Upanishad, and it's one of the beautiful research methodology taught in the Upanishads, where a student comes from the university and tells his father, I have graduated, and he says, do you know, by knowing you know everything, did you receive any such education? He says, no. Then he says, Satapo Tapyata, go and do penance. So he comes and says, it is the body. First, Annamaya Kosha, the body is the ultimate truth. Then the father proves to him that is not the ultimate truth. Then he goes to Pranamaya Sarira, Annamaya Kosha, and then he goes to Pranamaya Kosha. The father again proves that it is not the Pranamaya Kosha. So he says, go and do penance again. Satapo Tapyata. Then he goes to and comes back after a few years saying that it is the mind which is the ultimate truth. Father again disproves it. Then he goes for a few more years of tapas, comes and says it's Vijnanamaya Kosha, and he disproves that also. And at the end, he comes back to say that it is Anandam Brahmeti Vajanat. So the Anandamaya Kosha, that is where that inquiry of Panchakosha ends. And this process of negating each koshas is called Neti technique by the mystics. And some places, these koshas, though we call Annamaya Kosha, I have heard some great people calling them as Annamaya Kosha, because they are the sheets which cover the Atma, so they call them as Annamaya Kosha. Then another very interesting, intriguing is the mystic anatomy of the Kundalini Yoga, where we know this Shatchakra anatomy, starting with Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Ajna, and Sahasrara. The basic question is, a lot of people ask, are they present in the body, gross body? They are not present in the gross body, they are present in the subtle body. And they are not physically perceivable with your own eyes and all. There are some markers, there is some places called, Mooladhara. Mooladhara has a place, a marker. Then each chakras have certain exercises which activate the chakras. And there are some bija mantras which activate the chakras. There are some pranayamas which activate these chakras. And there are some vichara, some deep thinking on these chakras, and some kind of this one. They again give us the experience of these chakras. Basically, these are subconscious, as I told in the introduction, they are the impressions which go and stored at a particular level. It's like a multi-storied building starting at the bottom of the spine. And as we experience them, we come to integrate that subconscious psyche with the main psyche. This Swadhisthana, these things are there in textbooks. So I am moving fast. Then the question is, what does this anatomy lead us to? Mystic anatomy. We think we are the body, we are the mind, we are a separate entity, the Bindu. But at the ultimate end of the sadhana, we realize we are not an isolated one, but a part of a cosmic whole called the Sindhu, the entire cosmos. Then how do we experience the chakras? That is the important thing. We see they have given us some colors, they have given some animals, they have given some bijaksharas, etc. And we go and do them. We go to any authenticated teacher and learn this Kundalini Yoga. Should not be done by reading books and all, because there can be, it's a very powerful technique and can result in very powerful side effects which we fail to recognize also. Then some people call them as chakras and some people call them as lotuses, and basically it depends upon the teacher from whom we are learning. It works as chakra, it works as lotuses as well. Then we have this transformation of chakras. Initially they'll be like a bud, and then it slowly opens up and then it blooms. And similarly, there is this stages of evolution into the chakras called the salokya. Is you are separate, you just have a feeling that, at that chakra you find kind of a strange feeling. That is the coexistence or salokya. Then after some time we keep on meditating and doing the practices pertaining to some chakra. Then you get some familiarity with it, but you are also afraid of it. That stage is called as samipya or nearness. And then when we keep persisting with it, then at a point of a time, we get into the feeling or mood of that chakra, and that is called identicality or sarupya. And when we further continue, that consciousness becomes one with that particular chakra, and that is called as the sayuja. So that is how this Kundalini anatomy works at each chakra. And apart from these things, we also have to purify the nadis called Ida and Pingala, which are on either side of the spine, which one represents the mind and the other one represents the intellect. So by some technology, we try and enter Sushumna, which represents the Atma, and that is where the spiritual progress starts. And people also have spoken about these Granthi-traya, where, Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, and the Rudra Granthi. At the second chakra, we have Brahma Granthi. At fourth Anahata, we have the Vishnu Granthi, and at Agnya, we have the Rudra Granthi. Basically, these are nothing but Brahma Granthi is attachment to our physical body. So when we go beyond the consciousness that we are not just this body, we are the body, but we are not just this body, then we are supposed to have pierced the Brahma Granthi. Then when we know that we are not the mind and the intellect, then we go beyond the Vishnu Granthi. That means we have pierced the Vishnu Granthi. And when we go beyond the Ahankara, then you have crossed the Rudra Granthi. Then that is the stage set up for enlightenment. Then similarly, people speak about the anatomy of these Mahapranas. There are Mahapranas and Upapranas and all. The 5 vital layers are there, and there are techniques mystic teach us how to balance these 5 pranas, and it is very useful for maintaining a good health and a longevity in life. Then another important concept of this mystic anatomy is what we call Bhuta Shuddhi. These five elements which are made of Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasa. These 5 bhutas are there in different chakras. There is a very scientific technology how to purify these elements, because unless we purify this element, the mind cannot experience the superconscious samadhi and other states. Then another very important anatomical this one mystics use is what is called as the yoga nidra. Yoga nidra, people have different techniques and different notions, but current age, Swami Satyananda Saraswati of Munger, he has done a lot of research, both medical research as well as tantric research, and resurrected this technique of yoga nidra, which is a very profound technique, and it again consists of what we call as avayava dhyana. It's like the light we keep and the this one we take a just auditory perception and rotate the consciousness in different bodies in a particular sequence. So when meditation, we call it as a conscious deep sleep. In deep sleep, we don't know, but if we can get into what conscious deep sleep, that is meditation, and conscious dreamy state is the yoga nidra. And yoga nidra is a very profound health effects and also learning effects. That's why mystics use this particular anatomical sequence in yoga nidra. Then coming to the another profound subject is the anatomy of Sri Chakra superimposed on the body. When Sri Vidya, once the practice advances, especially the Samayachara, when you go to that, you superimpose the Sri Chakra on the body and then do the sadhana prescribed by the Guru, the mantra japa, the pranayamas, and the other practices which are prescribed, and that is called the moksha vidya. And interestingly, in the Sri Vidya, we have another this one where the anatomy is correlated with the 56 letters in our alphabet. So these alphabet, each alphabet is seen as the form of the goddess, and when we deposit each of these alphabets in a prescribed part in the body, it is called as the Bahirmatruka Nyasa. Then we also have another one where these 56 seeds, these bijaksharas, are there on the petals of each of these shatchakras, and all 56 are there in the Sahasrara. So we have, when we do this Antarmatruka Nyasa, because all thoughts are but expressed through words, these alphabets. So when we do this sadhana of Antarmatruka Nyasa and using Prana Shakti, take the prana from Mooladhara and deposit it in the Sahasrara, you attain no mind state, the Samadhi state, very, very easily. So that is how mystics use the knowledge of these alphabets and the anatomy to do these nyasas, and a very advanced and a profound technique which takes one very easily into samadhi states. Then there are many more. When Professor Sadasivamurthy Garu has given me this topic, I thought, what would I speak? Then once I started putting my thoughts in organized form, I realized a whole seminar, a whole day seminar can be done on this topic. And so the last segment of this talk, I concentrate on the mystic anatomy as envisaged by Adi Shankaracharya in his Saundarya Lahari. Our Saundarya Lahari has two parts. The Ananda Lahari, the first 41 slokas, and the rest 59 are called as Saundarya Lahari. Why I call them as mystic is that a lot of anatomical framework is given for us to meditate. The basic framework is an anatomy on which he gives some thoughts for us to ponder upon, which take us to the same mystic heights what Adi Shankaracharya has expressed. The basic structure is, he has given you the same Shatchakra, this one, where Kundalini starts from the Mooladhara Chakra and goes up to the Sahasrara, and there Mahim Mooladhare Kimapi Manipure Hutavaham Stitam Swadhisthane, like that it goes up to the Sahasrara. That is the ascent part. This a lot of people are familiar with. What is very important, what Adi Shankara brings to us is, after Kundalini has united with the Shiva at Sahasrara, there is a path of descent. And in this descent, she comes along with her, his consort, from the Sahasrara back to Mooladhara. And that descent is what confers divinity to our body as well as mind. This is what Aurobindo spent all his years bringing on that divine or this one back to ground. That is what he used to call. And that is described beautifully in this diagram meditation given by Adi Shankara. Sudhadhara saraihi charanayugalantar vigalitaihi prapancham sinchanti punarapi rasamnayamasa. Those from that sacred feet of the couple and the Devi, they come, and at the end I'll show you a video how it will permeate the entire Nadi system of the body, and that nectar will immortalize the entire body and mind complex. And in the same thing, when they come down, he has given that beautiful anatomical meditations. This is the meditation on Agnya Chakra. Tavagna Chakrastam Tapanasasi Koti Dyutitharam Param Shambhum Vande Parimilita Parshvam Parachita Yamaradhyan Bhaktya Ravisesi Suchinama Vishay Niraloke Loke Nivasatihi Bhaloka Bhuvane. We worship the Shiva and Shivani as Parashambhu and Parachita in Agnya Chakra. And then when we come down to the throat center, there in this one, they are in the Ardhanarishvara form, the Parashambhu and Parachita, whereas here they are in the pure crystalline form, and in the Vishuddha, we meditate upon them. Vishuddhaute Shuddhaspatika Vishadam Vyoma. Here we worship them as Vyomeswara and Vyomeswari, the deities of the space. And then we come down to the Anahata. We have Samunmilat Samvit Kamala Makarandayika Rasikam. They are like green swans which are swimming in the lake of the heart, and they tell all those Ashtadesha Vidyas, each speaking to the other. And here we worship them as Hamsa and Hamsi. Then they come to here there is a little difference between the Adishankara system, because here the Swadhisthana comes first, and Swadhisthana traditionally is called Jalatattva, but Adishankara says it is the Agni Tattva. तव स्वाधिष्ठाने हुतमहमधिष्ठाय निरतं तमीडे संवर्तं जननी महतीं तांच समयाम. Here we worship them as Samvarteswara and Samayeshwari. And then further when we come down to the Manipura, here we see Tatitvantam Sektya Timira Paripandhi Spuranaya. Here we worship the Shiva as the Megheshwara and the Devi as Sthira Saudamini. And when we come to Mooladhara, here Davadhare Mule Sahasamaya Lasya Paraya, we worship them as Ananda Bhairava and Ananda Bhairavi. Like this anatomical detail given by the Shankaracharya, we meditate, you get into those mystic states, what he experienced. That is the greatest contribution of Adi Shankaracharya to human race. Then there are further, this part is there in the Ananda Lahari part of Saundarya Lahari. Then from 42nd onwards, 59 shlokas is the meditations he has given us on the different parts of anatomy of the Devi. And it's not just a physical anatomy, it's pure mystic anatomy. I present you a few basic just for completing the talk as well as giving a bit of taste of those who have not experienced it. This particular shloka is called by Paramacharya Swami as Surya Chandra Maulishwari. Imagine a cosmic form of Devi, Gatayar Manikyatvam Gaganamanivis Sandra Gatitam. She has cosmic Devi with a golden crown. And imagine the diamonds which are there are the 12 Suryas. Anyone, possibly a little intelligent man, could have imagined up to this. But Shankara goes further to say that from this light, she has the moon, half moon. And when the rays of this Dwadashadityas is forming the half moon, there is Dhanush Shaunashiram, there is a Indradhanas. What a magnificent imagery. If you meditate upon this, it will lift your consciousness automatically into super conscious state. Then similarly, this is another one where we meditate upon the hair cleavage line of Devi. And in this shloka only, he uses the one and only time the name Saundarya Lahari. Tanotus Shemannaha Tavadana Saundarya Lahari Parivaha Srotaha Saraniriva Simanta Sarani. She puts vermilion in the hair cleavage line. This much every woman does in this country. But he adds an imagery. He says, Tava Vadana Saundarya Lahari, this beauty of ocean of beauty of her face is going up along that, this one as a small canal along the hair cleavage. And this also somebody who is a bit intelligent can imagine. But what Shankara contributes, it goes further when he says that that thick black hair is like the dark night, and this small, vermilion mark is like the first ray of the sun, and this entire black dark night is as if it is trying to suppress the first sunlight, and it is breaking through all that darkness. That is how our Ajnana dispels when we meditate on such a great shloka. Then this Trinetra, this one, when he says the right side, ahasute savyam tavar, the right eye is the sun, the left eye is the uh, moon, and the third eye is the Agni, this one. And he goes on almost 10 slokas meditating upon different aspects of the anatomy of the eyes. And they are very, very enlightening slokas. Then look at this. This is the meditation on the eyebrows of Devi. Bhruvau Bhugne Kinchat Bhuvana Bhayabhanga Vyasanini. Meditation on this will dispel all the bhaya, the fears of the world, I believe. And what a beautiful expression. He calls it as Bhuvana Bhayabhanga Vyasanini. It is her, she's into dispelling all our fears. And the eyebrow is seen as this one, and the gap between the eyebrows is seen as the place where we hold this one, and that is the imagery. And we find a similar imagery in the Upanishads, where you use Omkara as the this one, Dhanas, and pierce the ultimate. So, like that, the parts of human body are meditated upon with this mystic vision, then they lift us into those super conscious states. This is another beautiful meditation. Lalatam Lavanyam. He says that the forehead is like a half moon, and there is another half moon which is she is wearing on her head. And when you invert those two, it becomes a full moon, and it's again a beautiful imagery on the forehead of Devi. So, like this, the whole text, 59 slokas of Saundarya Lahari, go on the mystic anatomy, and the ultimate text in the mysticism, if somebody asks me, it is Saundarya Lahari. Though people meditate upon each shloka 1,000 times with this Naivedya and all, but last 5 years, ever since the corona, we have been chanting this every day. All the 100 slokas just takes about half an hour. It takes out all stress, whatever we have in the day, and confer a kind of a super conscious state. So, this is a small. You play the video, please. What is the role of knowing this mystic anatomy? Is like Jesus said, we don't live by bread alone. That means we live by cosmic energy. That is what nurtures us. And the rishis have described 72,000 nadis which are passing from the central axis of the spinal cord. And the cosmic energy flows through them.
Region is called
and
Brahmarandra.
Yeah.
On the incoming cosmic energy.
So whenever there are blocks, in the body, they create disease states. Okay, Baba, you can switch off. It's okay.
The energy body forms with more than 72,000 nadis or energy tubes which runs all across the body. All these energy tubes
see these red patches and all happen in that nadi system. They result in disease. And when you increase the cosmic flow like that, those red patches and all, so when we meditate, we get a cosmic energy, and flushes all those blocks, your vitality and health is restored. This has been a yoga practice for so many years. See, all those blocks get dissolved from the cosmic energy which you get. And Bhuta Shuddhi, all this technology helps this. One is knowing the anatomy, and our mystics have given these different techniques to integrate our subconscious mind and conscious mind into one whole. And like your question, sir, your question is, the way we know about subconscious mind is when the conflict ceases. There is always, we find a conflict between subconscious mind and this one. When we explore and cleanse the subconscious mind, it integrates with the conscious mind. There is one continuum of mind without conflicts. That is what is the Shuddha Sattva Guna, what you experience. So it is more experiential. It is not that we can explore and identify. And the presence of subconscious mind is like one day you get up in the morning and feel excessively happy for no reason. There is no outward thing which has happened to make us happy, but we feel very happy. When some bubble of past vasanas has come up into conscious mind and burst there. Similarly, sometime we feel we are very depressed for no obvious reason in the externally. This is again a kind of a bubble which comes from subconscious mind and bursts them. We can't perceive it as such, but during this technology we can go cleanse them and come back. That is what the Kundalini chakras or other prakriyas, whichever people have given us. Perhaps this is the greatest contribution of Sanatana Dharma to the entire humanity. This has to be, we have to learn this, we have to practice, if not for ourselves, at least to give it to the coming generations as a part of, repaying our Rushi Runa at least. And lastly, why we call this mysticism as a science? My first question is, science is one which everybody should be able to experience if they follow a particular methodology. This is proven times again, generations over, that these mystic practices, if we follow as prescribed, we experience similar states. That is one thing. And this verifiable, these states are verifiable. I can't verify your state, but if I can enter into similar state and verify whether what you experienced is I also can experience or not. And the best text I recommend is Saundarya Lahari, and that's why I end up this talk calling, though mysticism starts with doubt and faith in the beginning, it is a certainty, verifiable science, hence I call it as a science. Thank you, and thank you for Professor Sadashiva for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, all of you, for giving a patient listening.